Right, just fixing my view here. We will get started in just a few minutes. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our very first Wellness Wednesday. We are so excited to kick off this series. My name is Henna Khan. I'm a licensed professional counselor and a perinatal mental health specialist, and I'm also the founder and clinical director of the Bloom Center for Motherhood, which is a treatment center. It's an intensive outpatient program that supports mom with a perinatal mood or anxiety disorder. The program is designed for moms that need more than 1 hour once a week therapy. It's designed for the mom who feels like 7 days in between therapy sessions is just too long of a wait. And so our program is designed for those moms that need multiple days of treatment throughout the week and more intensive work throughout the week. Our team is built of perinatal mental health clinicians, and we have a very holistic program that incorporates art therapy, yoga therapy, mindfulness, and mother-baby attachment work. This new Wellness Wednesday series is an extension of that philosophy of care. So each month, we're going to invite an expert who supports maternal mental health and well being, but in a little bit of a different but meaningful way. So we're going to have speakers that are going to be experts on sleep, nutrition, movement, nervous system regulation, and beyond. So we're going to kick off, though, this Wellness Wednesday with something that touches every single mom that we know, and that is sleep. Our guest today is Stephanie Hewitt, who is a certified infant maternal sleep consultant, and she specializes in helping families get the rest that they need. So, whether you've been up every 2 hours trying to figure out how to get your baby into a sleep routine, she's here to offer some really practical tips for tired moms. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give a moment here and turn it over to Stephanie. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for being here.
I am so excited. This is fun. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to take a couple steps back here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. We know sleep deprivation is one of the most common struggles, right, in early motherhood. And honestly, it impacts everything from mental health to bonding to simply just making it through the day. We know that if I how I sleep tonight is going to impact how tomorrow goes. And so let's start out by if you could share with us a little bit about we know sleep is important, but tell us what you think is important for moms to know and understand about sleep and sleep health.
Yeah, that's a great question. Sleep is so essential because it's when the brain and body rest. It's when we recover from everything we've done the day before. It allows our cells and our body and our brain to get ready for the next day. And so, if we're not giving our brain and our body enough time to recover from all the things we've done in preparation for all the things we have to do, that's when we start to see our bandwidth get lower and lower and lower. And so, I don't know if you've ever had a day where maybe one night of poor sleep, you get up and you feel a little bit tired, but it's okay. Like you can keep going. maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 nights where sleep is low or broken up. Okay, so maybe you were in your bed for 8 hours, but you weren't asleep for 8 hours. After this happens for multiple days in a row, your brain and your body is going, look, I did not have time to go through enough REM cycles. I didn't have enough time to get all the way into deep sleep. We didn't spend enough time in deep sleep. I wasn't able to do what I needed to do to help you recover from all of your responsibilities. So soon we start to see shortened tempers. We start to see heightened emotions. We start to see an increase in appetite. Typically, we start to see low energy drive. People have less. They don't have the energy to be as physically active as they wanted to be. And we as humans, and especially moms, very quickly, whether we do it consciously or subconsciously, start to go through our list of priorities and we kick off all the extra stuff we don't have the bandwidth for. So now we are very quickly spiraling into survival mode because I have had no sleep. I am barely functioning. My brain and my body are not working together for my benefit. And now I have to get rid of my exercise program. I can't go to book club anymore. I do not have the energy to hang out with my friends. My spouse and I are not going on a date night. And I am just barely making it day to day because I'm so tired.
Yeah, gosh, I love how you pointed out something that was really, really, really important to me is, a lot of moms will often wonder, when is like, when is the point? Like, when am I at breaking point here? And the truth is we don't have to wait till that point, but when do I start to notice that things aren't going well? One night every now and then, sure, that happens. We've all been there, right? One night where we're just not getting good rest, maybe two nights. But if we're seeing that happen over and more nights, in a week, right? That's when we know something is off. I'm not well. I'm not able to get the rest that I need. And that's when you want to start looking for support, right? Because like you said, all those things that start happening, your temper, your appetite, your ability to stay present the
Yeah.
next day, right? Naturally, your body hasn't rested, your brain hasn't rested. And so I love that distinction of, if it happens once or twice is very different than it's happening more days than not in a week or in a month, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And how it impacts so many different areas, your mood, your appetite, how you're showing up with your baby, what things you do the next day, and how we feel like we're just catching up in this never-ending cycle, right? That things that still need to get done.
Yep.
I think one thing that comes up pretty often is like the sleep that one gets at night versus the sleep one gets in the daytime. And there's a difference, right?
Yes.
No, even though we can get some sleep in the daytime, which is good, we want to get what we can. What is the importance of that nighttime sleep
Mhm.
that a lot of times moms will miss out on?
So our brains actually produce different chemicals. So when we try to go to sleep at night, your brain begins to produce melatonin and serotonin to get ready for you to have an extended period of sleep. Your body goes into fasting mode. It's very, very different. It's chemically doing different things to
Hmm.
prepare you to be asleep for hopefully a number of hours at a time. And it's the same for our children, actually, the infants as well. Their brains and bodies produce melatonin to get ready. And then around 4 o'clock in the morning, our brains begin to produce cortisol to help us wake up for the day. So a little bit of cortisol is going to just shoot you up, and you're going to be like, okay, let's do this. I'm up. Everybody's up. We're going to be awake for an extended period of time. When we nap during the day, our brain does not produce the same level of chemical that it needs to be able to have sustained period of sleep. So even your baby, that's why sometimes naps feel so impossible because your baby's brain is not producing melatonin. They still need sleep because they're a baby, but it's not the same kind of sleep that they're going to get overnight. So if you're finding yourself like your mother-in-law told you, well, don't forget to sleep when the baby sleeps, and you're like, okay, yeah, me too. And the baby finally falls asleep. And so you pass out on the couch for 20 minutes. Good job. 20 minutes. If that's what you can get, take it. But it is not the same as a consistent, solid night's sleep.
Yeah, yeah, that distinction I think is so important because we sometimes think like, oh, I can just make up my sleep in the daytime, but it's not going to be the same restful sleep that you get at night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that brings me to the next question I had was uh speaking of like how our brain starts to change towards the end of the night when the sun sets. Talk a little bit to us about bedtime routines. Like we hear about this all the time. Social
Yeah.
media is full of like routines and things like that. And I think things like that could be helpful can also become kind of stressful. So let's talk about what is a healthy way to have a routine, and what kinds of routines and what that could look like. Because I imagine it's going to look different for every mom.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. And I think it's one that you're right. Social media has kind of taken over this space and has a lot of opinions about your bedtime routine and what you should be doing and what your baby needs and how many things you need to purchase and what needs to be in their room so that they can be a good sleeper. And so I'm just going to cut it all down so it feels way more manageable. And you can apply this to yourself as well. So everybody, whether you know it or not, you probably have a few things that you do before you get ready for bed at night. So when I'm ready for bed, regardless of the time, well, I was up till 1 o'clock in the morning today, like last night, because my son, who's a senior in high school, doesn't get off work until 12:30. So I sit up and wait for him. But even at 12:30 in the morning, I took my allergy medicine. I walked down the hall and brushed my teeth. I went to the restroom one last time. And I did my few little things before I went to bed. It took me 5 minutes, but I still did the few little things that I do before I go to bed to help me relax. Okay. So when we do a routine, it sends a cue to our brain that you are getting prepared to do something. So a bedtime routine is very nice for a child because even a young infant, because if you do the same thing every day, it sends a cue to the child based on this repeated behavior that you're getting ready to go to sleep. So a bedtime routine really does not need to last more than 15 or 20 minutes. It should not take up your whole evening. And do you know what? If you have to skip a step once or twice, it's okay. So, a good bedtime routine, like in a perfect world, this is what I like to say to all my clients. In a perfect world where everything is amazing and lovely, you're going to have dinner, then maybe you'll play together for a while, spend some time. Then, when it's time for bed, at about so let's say you want your child to go to bed at 7:30. Maybe around 7 or 7:10, you head down the hall, we have a little bath. We don't have to do a bath every day, but a bath is kind of nice because it is so different from anything your child does that day. So getting in the bath is really nice for us to be able to kind of start our evening. We get in the tub just for a few minutes. We get nice and warm and clean. Then go in their room, or if they're sleeping in your room, go in your room, turn on the white noise machine. You can kind of leave the lights a little bit low, dry them off, lotion, jammies, maybe read a story or two, give them a kiss, and put them in the bed. Okay. If we're, with every family, it's going to be a little different. Do we feed the baby a bottle? Are we still nursing? Like those things can be incorporated in. Does dad want to have a turn one night? Does mom want to have a turn? Are big brother or sister involved? You can incorporate all of those things. But a bedtime routine should have 4 or 5 steps, each one not lasting more than a few minutes. Keep the atmosphere nice and calm. Say goodnight. Easy peasy.
Yeah, I love how again, it's not complicated and it doesn't have to include all kinds of these steps. And like, I love what you said. If you miss a step, it's okay. It's not going to dramatically change the course of the night.
No.
Right? If you skip a step, it's okay. And you can still be able to get through your routine. And I also think what was kind of stood out to me is one thing about the environment, right? The sleep environment that you're cultivating, whether that's dimming the lights, talking more softly, just that whole environment shift that happens. I imagine that also is sending cues of, okay, we're moving into a different part of the day now.
Very much so. I have lots of clients who like they just swear by white noise machines and
Mhm.
blackout curtains, and I love those things. My children all have a small white noise machine. I sleep with one because we have dogs, but It's not the bedtime routine and it's not the environment that is going to make or break your evening.
Mhm.
Those things are very external. They're nice. They can help, mask sound. Some kids are really light sensitive. Some kids aren't. Some
Mhm.
kids don't need a dark room to sleep well. Some do.
Mhm.
It's the skill set that your child has that helps them be a good sleeper. It's
Mhm.
not the bedtime routine. And so if you have an evening where you went out to dinner with your friends and you're getting home a little bit late and now you're like, "Oh my gosh, the baby's overtired. They're going to have a hard time, but we have to have a bath. We have to have the story. We have to do all these things because it's part of the routine." I do recommend taking a few minutes to help your baby wind down when you get home. Maybe skip the bath, read an extra story, or sing a song. Just shorten the routine a little bit, but give them a minute to calm down before trying to put them in bed. But don't stress about following every single step exactly the same way every single time, especially if the routine is well established.
Like we'll bounce back the next day. We'll
Yeah.
be back to the same thing every
Yeah.
now and then if something shifts. If you're traveling, if you have people coming over, it's okay to shorten that. But I think one thing that you mentioned key is you want to help them regulate and settle down. That's important before bedtime.
Well, because as an adult, have you ever been out late at a party or gone to a late movie and then come home and had somebody be like, "Oh, you better hurry up and go lay down and go to bed." And you're laying down and you've been stimulated for quite some time. You were in a loud space or you were in a movie theater and it was dark and the lights were flashing at you. And then you have to hurry up and lay down and go to sleep. Your brain needs a minute to adjust and kind of wind down before asking it to try to fall asleep. Now, babies are a little bit different, and so if they got sleepy in the car on the way home, that's kind of a different story. But that's just something I like parents to keep in the back of their mind, that your baby is a baby, but they're also a person,
Yeah.
and people need people need a minute. They need time
Yeah.
to settle down.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, as I remember when my young children were that young, my go-to was how quickly can I get them to bed so I can have me time, right? Like
Yes.
we all want like the day for us would begin when they go to bed, right? Like
Uh-huh.
that's when I can watch that TV show
Yeah.
or I can hang out with my husband, right? Like I
Yeah.
think life kind of begins after that for the
Yes.
mom. And so I think sometimes we rush into trying to get our kids to quickly be tucked in and good night.
Yes.
Um, and in that process, it could backfire, right?
Yes.
Because we're not settled. Essentially, I'm not regulated. I'm rushing this, and I'm rushing my child, and so it's so important, I think, to regulate ourselves, kind of check in, like what's the rush here that I'm feeling, and then be able to settle myself to help
Mhm.
settle my child for a few minutes, to kind of help them wind down, and then eventually. And I think when we put in a little bit of that time and effort up front, the outcome is mostly favorable. But we just
It's
have to
so
put that up
true.
front, right? And so, and that's the hard part. It's not easy, especially
No.
when and then I think, again, to your point, there's some days or and some exceptions where you are rushing, you have a
Mhm.
flight to catch, or there's things where you're going to, and those are those one-off days, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfectly aligned every single time. There are going to be things that you're going to pivot and adapt to. Right. Um, speaking of like environment and kind of what we're doing, I think one of the things that comes up a lot is how or when is the time to transition, right? If we're co-sleeping, when are we transitioning baby into the crib? Or if we're in a crib, when are we transitioning to big kid bed and things like that? So talk to us a little bit about transitions for
Yeah,
babies.
that's a really good one. So let's talk about co-sleeping. I get lots of questions about co-sleeping. Are you for co-sleeping? Do you work with families who co-sleep? And my standard answer is I adhere to the recommendation from the American Academy of Pediatrics, which is that safe sleep means parent in their own sleep space, child in their own sleep space. I have worked with many, many families who have been co sleeping for 3 months or
Hmm.
18 months or a year and they don't want to co-sleep anymore. So something I ask my co-sleeping families is is your bed sharing working for every member of your family? And a lot of times I get, well, it was working for a while, but now my husband sleeps in the other room, or the baby and I sleep in the other room and my husband is in our bed, or mostly I just sleep on the couch. And eventually something happens and it's just not working as well as it once did. So whether you intentionally have been bed sharing or it just happened, which is very common, sometimes people are tired and you just do what you
Right.
got to do. When you're ready to transition from co-sleeping and your baby is older than 6 months, I recommend that you transition them to their own bedroom. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that a child share a bedroom with their parents for up to the first year, but especially for the first 6 months. Not everybody does this. Again, I hope parents make their own decision. I will say none of my children slept in my room for 6 months. I just could not sleep with them in my room. So be aware of your family situation, be aware of your own mental health and what works best for your family. But if they're older than 6 months, I would suggest thinking about putting them in their own sleep space. And then thinking about what are your reasons for not wanting to do that. Because sometimes moms experience a lot of anxiety when it comes time to move their baby out of their room, especially if they've been there for a long time. And the first night can be really difficult because it's very emotional. Like we're their moms, we love them, we want them close, we want them to be safe and happy. So I do work with a lot of families through that transition. And whether we're moving a baby out of our bedroom or from a bassinet into a crib, what I recommend every single time is before you make the switch at night, take 2 or 3 days and spend some low pressure awake time in their room or in their crib. Put them in the crib, you sit on the floor next to them, play peekaboo, put a toy in the crib with them, and let them be awake in their sleep space. Take the basket of laundry, set it on their bedroom floor, and let them crawl around the room or lay on the ground next to you while you fold laundry in their room or you do some work on your laptop. Give them time to be in their sleep space while they're awake. It will allow them to accustom themselves to it and they pick up on your emotions. Oh, my mom is happy here. My mom thinks this is great. I also will think this is great. That doesn't mean that when it's time for bed that people aren't going to cry because babies cry and that's okay. But that can be really helpful. The same thing when you switch from a crib to a toddler bed. Allow your toddler to help you pick out their new bed and their new blankets and their bedspread and their stuffed animal that's going to sit on the end and watch over them while they sleep. And then spend awake time in their sleep space so they can accustom to it before you ask them to sleep there.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I love these ideas because I think in our heads, we probably think, oh, it's just a transition. We go one night here and the next night we're there, but it's really a process. And we want to, like how you suggested, take some wake time, spend some wake time in that space to help your child get accustomed to kind of feel the space. And then the piece of like that co-regulation from mom. Mom is pretty comfortable here. We're having a nice time here. This is a safe space. I can be in here. I can be, and it's okay. Right. So, and that versus moving them into that space, quickly all of a sudden one night can be really uncomfortable and they might feel unsafe, right? So I think transitioning and doing this in small increments and small steps, I think is really great. And the other point to what you said, it's going to be different for every mom. So going back to our social media, like there's again so much out there that we might feel like, am I supposed to be doing this? Or am I doing it wrong because some other mom is doing it this way? And she talked about how great it worked for her, but it's going to work differently for every mom out there. And so this is where you want to, like you said, right, Stephanie, pay attention to your mental health needs. What's important for you? What is your lifestyle like? What is your work life like? For if there's two physicians in the home who are on call in the middle of the night, they can't have their phones buzzing while their baby's in the same room. So they have to make arrangements where they're in different sleep spaces. So figure out what your lifestyle is, what works for your home. And I love what you said. Does it work for every member of the family? Right. And if it doesn't, then maybe we need to reevaluate what's going on. But these are great tips. And I think what I take from this is it's a process, it's a transition. It's not a one-time quick fix or quick change. That's actually not good for you or for baby. You want to plan this out
Yes.
and do it in steps. And obviously, it's best to do it with a professional like yourself so that we're doing this in incremental stages
Helpful.
and we have support along the way too, right? Because not everything goes as planned.
No, no, not with kids.
No, not with kids, not with babies. There's so much learning that we're doing as we're doing all of this. And so, and I know we're getting close to our time here. Um, but one more thing I just wanted to touch on. Sorry, excuse me. One more thing is that when it comes to babies and sleep myths around crying, right? Like you said something like, babies are gonna cry and that's okay. And so I think that's something that moms really struggle with. Like, oh gosh, like what does it mean? Like the cry it out, the don't cry it out. Like, there's so much again out there. If you had to kind of say something about like how to debunk that and to help moms better understand what does crying mean, when babies are transitioning or changing to something new and what that means and how it's perceived.
Yeah, the crying question, I get asked every single parent that I talk to asks me about the crying because it's so emotionally impactful. Like as a parent, when your child cries, it affects your physical body. Your heart rate increases, your stress level goes up. You feel this intense need to make it stop. You want to help them and you want to be there for them. So, a couple of things that I tell families is that, especially an infant who doesn't have words, they are going to cry because it is the only way they have to communicate with you. So, when we talk about crying, typically I use a chair method, or a gradual retreat. Okay. So, the cry it out is typically a Ferber where you put the baby in the crib and then you do like every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes, you go in and check on the baby, which can work very well. Again, it depends on the temperament of the baby and it depends on the temperament of the parent and how much support the primary parent has from either the secondary parent or another adult in their life. Because that one is hard. So even with a gradual retreat method where I keep a parent in the room for almost 7 full days as the baby is falling asleep, there is still going to be crying. And there are a few things that I ask parents to think about when their baby is crying. I need you to think about it like a conversation. When you put your baby in bed and you're listening to them cry, I want you to think about what they may be telling you. I'm so tired. It's the end of the day and I've been busy today and now I want to fall asleep, but I don't actually like to sleep and I'm worried I'm going to miss out on something. So think about the things that your baby might be telling you. And it's okay for them to be frustrated. You're there for them. You're listening to them. Allow them to express themselves to you. I actually give parents a crying scale from a 0 to 5. 0 being no crying at all, 5 being it is the end of the world. Like we have reached the top. And I tell parents it is normal for a child to hit a level 5 briefly while you're trying to help them learn to do something new. Learning to do something new is hard. And as a parent, it's okay for you to empathize with them. I know this is so difficult. I'm asking you to fall asleep without nursing for the first time ever, and you don't know how. But I am here to touch you, cuddle you, talk to you while you make your way through this process. So when you view their crying as a conversation, it can take some of that stress away. I also work really, really hard to give parents lots of tools. Touch your baby, pick up your baby, give them a cuddle, make sure they don't have a diaper problem, that they didn't flip over and get stuck, that they're physically safe and well. And that can alleviate a lot of the stress when parents feel like they have a plan and they have tools in their toolbox. That's my whole goal, is to give parents tools for their parenting toolbox, because I only work with a client for 3 weeks, but I want them to be successful for years, and I want them to be able to pull out those tools long term. And so when we talk about crying, we talk about them managing their own stress, having support for a person with them, and then maybe reframing what crying actually means. Crying is a way for your baby to talk to you. And as a good parent, you want to be able to listen and you want to solve problems, but you also want to have faith in your baby that they can do something new, even when it seems really hard.
Yeah, so so important. And I think the distinction of, babies are going to cry because that's how they learn, that's how they know how to communicate with us, versus leaving babies crying unattended, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's an
Yeah.
important distinction, because babies, when they're crying, they're communicating with us and they need us to listen. They need us to be able to see them and hear them and understand them and comfort them.
Yep.
And so that's the distinction, I think, where we don't want to leave babies crying for extended periods of time with no
No.
touch, comfort, support. That's the part we don't want to do. But part of this experience and part of this transition will include some tears for both
Yeah.
mom and baby.
Yeah. Yep. Transitions
Yes.
are hard. And it's
Yes.
okay for it to be hard. It's not the last time your baby's going to cry over something you teach them. And it's not the last time you're going to cry when your baby has to learn to do something. It's hard.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, this was such an enlightening discussion. I hope it was really helpful for all of our viewers. I'm going to go ahead and hit the stop button for the recording so that we can have some time here for Q&A. So I'm
Can
going
I
to go
just
ahead and
add
do
really
that.
quickly, because
Yes.
I have so many resources for moms that are completely free. And I would love for, if you have questions about your sleep schedule or wake windows or how to go on vacation with your baby or how to manage toddler bedtimes, it's all free on my website. And I've had lots of moms just be able to tweak a few things here and there just from a few free resources.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us just really quick about what is the best way to reach you, and for if there are moms who would like to get started with you, what is the best way to do that?
I have an Instagram and then I have a website, riseandrestcoaching.com. And all my free resources are there. And I do offer free sleep assessments. So we can just get on the phone and you can ask me any question you want. And we can talk about, do you really need help? Can we just fix a few things? And that conversation is completely free. And I offer many different packages at different age groups and at different price points because everybody, families need different things. So that is all also available on my website.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. As you can see, we've got some great resources on her page, and she is also a great resource in case you need some additional support. All right, so we're going to move right into Q&A. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording right about now. For those watching us later or as a recording, thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.